It's another day here at the Comeback Team Studios. This is your boy Bek Lover, and you're watching another episode of Interesting Times with Bek Lover, where I cover all of today's news, the most important headlines, anything that you might find relevant and that might make interesting news to learn about. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. I do this episode basically daily. You can also check out my podcast where I interview some of the most extraordinary people in the world on the Bek Lover Podcast. Today's going to be a quick episode, so I'm just going to jump into it. There's not that much that's changed over the weekend. It is a very pretty day here in New York City. The skies are clear, but the winds are like 50, 60 miles an hour. You know, I made a joke on my Instagram. It's like, what is it? The wicked wolf is outside my house. Like, you can hear this wind howling since yesterday around 6, 7 o'clock. It's like 40, 50, 60 mile per hour gust. I feel like the house is going to shake. I was driving on my way to the studio and I felt like my car was being pushed out of control a few times from how big those wind gusts were. So if you're in the New York City area, stay safe, because only the strong survive. We are approaching summertime in New York. You know, we're almost out of winter completely officially, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, we are out of it, right? We sprung ahead. So today, 2 billion people have started to observe the holy month of Ramadan. The month of Ramadan is one of the most important times in the Islamic religion, or the Muslim religion. This is a time where Muslims believe that God began his revelation of his final testament, the Holy Quran. During this month, Muslims observe a strict fast from sun up to sundown, where they do not eat any food, drink any water, chew gum, smoke. They prohibit, they really try to watch and monitor the behavior. It's a month that they devote to God consciousness, or what they would call taqwa in the Muslim faith. Through fasting, you are reminded of your mortality. You are reminded of your blessings. You give your body a chance to heal and to maybe reset, because a lot of us eat and consume way too much. There's just a ton of benefits to this month. So if you're of that faith, I just wanted to wish you a happy Ramadan, an easy fast, and hopefully people can start to learn from one another, study each other's religions, cultures, and realize that none of us have the right to judge each other except God. There's no reason to hate somebody or want them to not exist just because of their color, race, creed, or religion. Speaking of not having food during the day by choice, what about the places that just don't have food? Places like Sudan, places like Gaza, that people are literally on the verge of starvation to death, starving to death. And it doesn't seem like any of that's going to end anytime soon. And if you're someone that cares about TikTok, then you might want to pay attention to what's going on, because they might not be around much longer the way we know them in the U.S. if certain officials in the government get their way. Please subscribe. I gather the most interesting news from around the world. I give you my spin on it. I keep you informed so you don't have to scroll through, and I give you my funky, funny, sometimes very dramatic take on world events, local news, science, health, you name it. I talk about it all, because we live in an interesting world, my friends. Interesting times indeed. So let's get into the headlines. I don't have that many today. Like I was mentioning earlier, some lawmakers undecided on their support for bill targeting TikTok. Axios reports this one, and it says, lawmakers from both parties say they are unsure whether they will support a new bill targeting TikTok in the U.S. Why it matters: TikTok has been a hot button political issue for years under both the Biden and Trump administrations, amid concerns the Chinese-owned app could pose national security concerns. And I said this on my last episode, and I'll say it again. This is what you guys are worried about. You're worried about this little website where we act like idiots for the most part and do a lot of stupid stuff. Now, don't get me wrong. There's some great content creators on TikTok, but there's a lot of stupidity on there also. But this is what you're worried about? You're worried about the last 50, 60 years, how we've been infiltrated. You just had a couple Chinese spies working for Microsoft and Google, stealing secrets, sending them overseas. It's like you're worried a little bit too late now. You weren't worried about all of the companies that we had sending their jobs overseas. You weren't worried about putting tariffs on Chinese goods and protecting the American owner. No, you protected the interest of the corporations. You didn't care about Americans. If you cared about Americans, you would have imposed stiff penalties for companies that wanted to do business outside the U.S.'s borders. You would have protected our national production. But you're worried now. You want to make it look like if you've ever noticed, like when it's like an election year, they want to act like they give a fuck. Like they want to act like all of a sudden they're worried about China, because most of us have all woken up. American companies can't compete against slave labor. You just can't. And these people allowed them into the World Trade Organization. People like Bill Clinton, who I used to look up to as someone that I thought was a good president when I was young and naive and watching Arsenio Hall as he played his saxophone. And most people don't have any depth in their life. They can't really critically think. They have a memory that goes back to about 2 scrolls back on their iPhone. And this is the world that we live in. It's almost like there is no reality. I can't even explain it. It's very weird. I know a lot of you feel the same way. But in any event, TikTok might be in danger. They've been saying this for years. Let's see what happens. So we'll see. U.S., Germany, and EU embassies begin evacuating staff as violence spirals in gang-plagued Haiti. Reported by CNN. Dajabon, Dominican Republic. The United States and other diplomatic missions have begun evacuating personnel from Haiti as gang violence in the Caribbean nation's capital, Port-au-Prince, continues to spiral. One evacuation operation carrying staffers from the German and European missions was forced to turn down requests to help evacuate others on Sunday, a source involved told CNN. The U.S. military said on Sunday it conducted an operation to airlift non-essential personnel from the U.S. Embassy and to bolster the security of its mission in the capital. Port-au-Prince has seen a wave of highly coordinated gang attacks on law enforcement and state institutions that threatens to topple the government, which has forced tens of thousands of people to flee their homes. So it's been pretty insane there lately, and it's getting out of control even more. My prayers and thoughts go to the Haitian people. I hope one day you guys can figure out a way to come together, run your country peacefully, find a leader that actually cares about you, is not corrupt, and God takes it easy with all these national disasters that keep happening to your people, like earthquakes that have been devastating. And I had friends and family who went over there during that time period to help you. But it seems to happen pretty frequently. What amazes me is how you share another country with the Dominican Republic, this tiny island, and you guys seem to get all the bad luck, which is really sad. But so as you can see, a lot of the scenes here is just a lot of chaos going on in Haiti. So Sudan Army General rules out Ramadan truce unless RSF leaves civilian sites. So as you know, Sudan is about to be the largest catastrophe in the world. Their entire population is about to starve. It's about 25 million people that run the risk of starving to death. There's been a lot of violence in the region lately. Sudan's foreign ministry, which supports the armed forces, stated that the RSF, which is a rebel group, would have to leave its stronghold of Al Ghazira and Sennar states, as well as a number of cities in Darfur, in order for any ceasefire requested to be granted. Senior Sudanese Armed Forces General Yasser Al-Attah declared on Sunday that there would be no truce in the country during the Islamic holy month of Ramadan. So, very, very bad to fight during that month, especially if you're of the Muslim faith. This guy's Muslim. Seems like the other people that are fighting are Muslim also. Last night was the Oscars, and the Zone of Interest makers deliver anti-war statement after Oscar win. This is reported by Politico. The harrowing Holocaust drama, The Zone of Interest, which explores questions of complicity while depicting the mundane lives of Nazi family in their home adjacent to the Auschwitz death camp, won the Academy Award for Best International Film. Our film shows where dehumanization leads at its worst. Writer-director Jonathan Glazer said, right now we stand here as men who refute their Jewishness and the Holocaust being hijacked by an occupation which has led to the conflict for so many innocent people, whether the victims of October the 7th in Israel or the ongoing attack on Gaza. All the victims, dishumanization, how do we resist? Glazer's reference to Israel's war in Gaza came after pro-Palestinian protesters snarled traffic around the Dolby Theater as the Oscars kicked off. And these protests that are pro-Palestinian, pro their rights, have been going off nonstop here in the New York City area. And I think it takes a lot of braveness to do what Jonathan Glazer's done, because to be of Jewish descent, to make a film that just won the Oscar telling the story of what happened to the Jewish people during World War II, and then to turn around and tell your friends, your family, your state that you don't agree with what they're doing, that it's wrong, is very brave. And I take off my hat to him, because it's not easy to look in the mirror when it's your people that are doing something wrong. I've told all of you, even well before social media and I became kind of well known out there in the world, I was always against what our country did to other countries, especially when it was unjustified. I still haunted by the images of the prisons in Iraq and Abu Ghraib or whatever it was called. I can't pronounce it. And we invaded these countries with no just cause, and millions of people died in our name, in my name, but it was never in my name. Just like when an act of terrorism happens, it's not in the name of the Muslims who truly believe in Islam and peace. Just like a kid who's taken advantage of by clergymen doesn't represent all of Catholicism. We need more people like Jonathan Glazer. We need people who can look in the mirror and do a self-audit and call out even their own family, friends, country. That's what the world is missing now. India moves to implement controversial citizenship bill that excludes Muslims. India has announced rules that would allow it to implement a controversial citizenship bill that excludes Muslims. The Indian Ministry of Home Affairs announced the rules Monday ahead of India's general election in the spring, when Prime Minister Narendra Modi will seek a rare third term. The Citizenship Amendment Act provides a fast track to citizenship for immigrants from Afghanistan, Bangladesh, and Pakistan, provided they are not Muslim. Do you think that's anti-Muslim? Do you think that's going to stir the pot in India, where traditionally Hindus and Muslims have had conflict in places like Kashmir also? Do you think after they just blessed a Hindu temple that was built on the ashes and the ruins of a historic ancient mosque? I said this on previous episodes. Modi is very anti-Muslim. Very, very anti-Muslim. And he is pretty much out in the open about it. That's my thoughts on that. 8 children, 1 adult died from illness after eating sea turtle meat on a remote African island. Okay, I want you to pay attention here. 8 children and an adult died on a remote African island, and dozens more were hospitalized after eating sea turtle meat, which is considered a delicacy in the region despite well-known food poisoning dangers, including the risk of death. At least 78 other people were sickened during the incident that took place earlier this week on Pemba Island, a remote tropical enclave in the Zanzibar archipelago off the eastern coast of Africa. The adult who perished from eating the turtle meat on Friday was the mother of one of the children who had lost their lives, said Dr. Haji Bakari, the medical office for Makani district. He told the Associated Press the lab test confirmed all those who took ill had consumed sea turtle meat on Tuesday. The poisonous echoes a similar incident in November 2021 in which 7 people, including a 3-year-old, died after eating turtle meat. Okay, it's pretty safe to say that you should not eat turtle meat. I repeat, it is pretty safe to say you should not eat turtle meat. I don't think God designed turtles to be eaten. Now, what's mind-boggling to me is, I believe this area is Muslim, and I don't think Allah sanctioned turtle meat to be eaten. I don't think it's halal, as the Muslims would say. 8 out of the 9 victims were children who the National Institute of Health says they're particularly susceptible to clensonatism, including nursing babies who can be poisoned through their mother's breast milk. Sea turtle meat is considered a delicacy in Zanzibar, despite known potential dangers in consuming it, including a deadly form of food poisoning. Crazy. The feds are coming for extremist gamers. Basically, this article is talking about how a lot of government agencies in the U.S. are going to pay attention to gamers and the way they talk and the way they comment and try to weed out any potential threats to our nation and our security. I'm so sure that someone playing a video game that emulates war like Battlefield could be a risk to the American people. Or could it? Interesting article here. Panama archaeologists discover 1,200-year-old ancient tomb brimming with gold treasure, sacrificial remains. The tomb discovered in Panama, it's reported by the Hindustan Times, belonged to an elite chief who was laid to rest face down on top of a woman's body, which was customary in their community. I guess they wanted to make sure you could get some the rest of eternity. At a Panamanian archaeological site, researchers discovered an old lord's tomb filled with the gold treasure and sacrificial victims. The tomb, which dates back an estimated 1,200 years, marked the location of elite chief's burial place, along with dozens of other individuals who died to accompany him to the beyond. According to the press release, the researchers discovered 5 pectorals, 2 belts of spherical gold beads, 4 bracelets, 2 human figure earrings, a man and a woman, an earring in the shape of a double crocodile. They also found 1 necklace of a tiny circular beads, 5 gold-covered sperm whale teeth earrings, 2 bell bracelets, and skirts made of dog teeth, and a set of balloon flutes, and a partridge in a pear tree. Do we really need all the itemization here? And like, do we need They found a shitload of gold inside of a tomb where these people were chopping people up and sacrificing them. And a couple thousand years later, we get to find it and someone gets to become rich, finding all that good gold stuff in this tomb. Ancient stone tool found in Ukraine offers oldest evidence of human presence in Europe. Deliberately fashioned chip stone dates back more than 1 million years and may have been used by Homo erectus. Homo erectus. Ancient stone tool found in western Ukraine may offer the oldest known evidence of the presence of humans in Europe. This was reported by The Guardian. The chip stones, deliberately fashioned from volcanic rock, were evacuated from a quarry in Korokolovo in the 1970s. This is the earliest evidence of any type of human in Europe that is dated, said Mads Fasholkundstuen, a geologist at the Aarhus University in Denmark and co-author of the study published in the Wednesday in the Journal of Nature. That's pretty cool. TikTok sparks user revolt in the U.S. sales plan. A bill that would mandate the sale this is reported by the BBC, within 6 months or see TikTok facing a ban was approved by the U.S. Congress panel on Thursday. Earlier, users of the app had received notification using them to act to stop TikTok shutdown. Congressional aide told the BBC their office had received dozens of calls. One congressman said he had been contacted by children over the matter. The bill is expected to go a full House floor vote next week. It'll be interesting to see what happens. The Hubble experiment continues to teach us about the world, and it has recently confirmed that the universe is indeed still expanding. From the Big Bang on, it is expanding. Today was a quick episode. Not too much really interesting crap out there lately, guys. Our prayers and thoughts go to all people that are suffering around the world. I want to thank you for watching this episode of Interesting Times with Bek Lover. Make sure you check out my YouTube channel, Spotify, anywhere podcasts are available. But a lot of the fun action is actually on my Instagram and on my TikTok and on my X, also known as Twitter account. I'll see you guys the next time. And remember, we live in an interesting world, indeed, my friends. Till the next time. Ciao.